It's time to talk sports. It's Hacksaw's Headlines, a panorama of the world of sports, stories, comments, and opinions.
Touchdown, San Diego!
Now, here's iconic sports talk show host Lee Hacksaw Hamilton and co-host John Riley.
Who wants to talk sports on a Monday? We do. You do. From the DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Center studios in San Diego, coming off the NFL Draft weekend, we welcome you to the Monday Bonus Podcast. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Lee Hacksaw Hamilton, along with my co-host with his opinions from left field, John Riley, and we welcome you to Hacksaw's Headlines, podcast brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers, with 8 locations to serve you in San Diego. You got projects, they got materials, you want ideas, they can help you. DIXIELINE Lumber. And by Our Lads Draft Guide. The NFL Draft is come and gone. Here come the OTA workouts, then training camp. You still have a chance to get the draft publication and subscribe, because then you'll get their preseason training camp book. Go to ourlads.com, subscribe, ask for the digital version of the book, and you'll automatically get the printed version when training camps open in July. John Riley, good afternoon. There are not enough hours in the day to watch all this, write about all this, cover all this, and then talk about it. Wow, what a weekend.
What a weekend, man. I'm like, you just brought your notes in. I'm like, look at he got the Hacksaw big board on your legal sheet. And you should see this. I mean, look at, this is insane. I mean, the way you keep track of everything.
There's just not enough days to do this. I mean, I went from watching Padres baseball in Mexico to continuous coverage of the NFL draft. And then my spare time, which NBA game am I going to sample? And damn, I got to watch the back-to-back NHL games too.
Yeah, there was a lot going on this weekend.
And then I had to write my whole website and a column on top of it.
Right, yeah. I mean, the draft added a ton more to this week, but I love your old-school method of how you keep track of it all.
There's not enough hours in the day. Do you have the phone number, the toll-free 800 number for the guy that owns the patent for the 42-hour workday?
Yeah, really, yeah. We need to expand that.
Holy cow. But listen, we're going to a lot of different directions on the show. If you like sports across the waterfront, you're going to like this show, because we're going to cover a lot of topics on the table. A couple of program notes when we are done, because we do sports talk the way it should be done. Lots of topics, lots of opinions. When we are done, you get the chance to sound off. It's called Fans Forum. For the people joining us on live stream, how do they get involved?
How do you get involved? It's your chance to get involved. You have a question or comment in the world of sports for Hacksaw, drop your hot take in the live chat on YouTube, Facebook, or X. We'll get you involved in Fans Forum.
First-timers, long-timers, doesn't matter. Agree, disagree, doesn't matter. Want to hear from you, but the only way we'll hear from you, go to the Fans Forum chat box and join us. You can help us grow this podcast. It's just exploding. Give us a thumbs up. Hit the follow button, or give us a 5-star rating on Apple. Another item, we redesigned our entire website. It's very, very different, with access to a lot more stuff. If you've never sampled my website, should I say it? What the hell's wrong with you? You need to sample my website. Go to leehacksawhamilton.com. Take a look at what we've just added. Give us a thumbs up. Give us a thumbs down. Tell us what you think in the Fans Forum chat box, but you get the best 15 minutes in sports. And my one man's opinion column, be prepared. Report card on every team in the NFL and what they drafted. And it's on the newly designed website, leehacksawhamilton.com. Share, subscribe, tell everybody what these two guys do Mondays and Thursdays at 1:30. And when you subscribe to the YouTube channel, you'll get the additional alerts every time we put additional videos up on the YouTube channel. Have I got it covered?
Yeah, you got it covered, man. You got a lot going on.
And listen, if you know the secret code to get to the guy that has the 42-hour workday, please send it to me, because there's just not enough hours in the day to cover all this.
You're still going strong,
man. What a damn weekend it was. And I didn't drink any coffee, and I don't drink Red Bull, and we're ready. I do drink a lot of Mountain Dew.
Mountain Dew, that'll get you cooking.
Damn right. Topics on the table. Topic 1, John, start.
Okay, let's go to the Padres. Just got back from Mexico City. Fiesta and fireworks.
Or Mexico City meltdown.
Okay.
Padres. It was a really interesting weekend. I mean, it was a summer samba of baseball down in Mexico City. That was kind of cool. felt really bad yesterday. Padres wasted Manny Machado's 2-run home run, 3-run home run. Padres wasted Michael King's 8-strikeout outing in his first 4 innings. Bullpen imploded. My goodness, the bullpen gave up 9 runs in the 7th and 8th inning. Chunk of the lineup is still not hitting at all. Half the guys in the batting order are batting under 220, and Tatis has a donut. No home runs now for 27 games this season. So I'll ask you this question, because with all those couch negatives I just presented, they're only a half game out of first place.
Amazing.
It is amazing, but how do you fix it? Is there something that needs to be fixed, or just play the games and hope these guys are going to hit their way out of it and hope we have enough rental pitching to get us through the 143 games that are still left on the schedule?
Well, I don't know. I think you're kind of getting to the point where you have to take a hard look at Cronenworth, you know? I mean, especially the way this guy right here, Ty France, the way he's hitting. I mean, because France, you think of as a corner infielder, he can play a little second, or, you know, they could bring in Tatis to play second, and they could work more Ty France into the lineup, because they still back Cronenworth against all the lefties, too. And you kind of wonder, why don't they ever platoon him?
Yeah, I mean, he is one of the group that's not hitting very well at all. And he's right now, he is the problem. I can't believe this guy who came to the major leagues, hit so well so early for 2 years, has been figured out. I mean, I think his batting average as of breakfast today was a 149. And we're talking about a 5th or 6th year player.
Yeah, and it just seems like it's been sort of like a slow decline since, you know, when the Padres slayed the Dragon and beat LA in the playoffs, and he had that magical moment, that hit off of Vesia. But yeah, you still love the guy, you know. I mean, he's a solid player, solid teammate. But you know what? The bullpen meltdown was weird because the Padres had a big lead. Okay, and then I guess they rolled out Marinaccio, didn't they? And you figure, okay, let him hold the lead, but then they just kind of left him in there, and they let him cook, you know, in a bad way, you know, which started the meltdown.
And then David Morgan came in, and he got lit, and then Wandy Peralta came in, and he gave up a run, too, along the way. But you've got bottom of the bullpen guys, least experienced guys, in Mexico altitude. I could see how this thing could be a one-time meltdown.
Well, you know, I know he wants to save some of those bullets, you know, with Mason Miller and Adrian Morejon, but I mean, when the game got tight, when it went from 7-2 to 7-5, 7-6, you know, why aren't they bringing in their high leverage guys?
Because they pitched them the day before.
Well, yeah, but come on, man, and we want to win the game. It just seemed like Stammen sort of conceded and said, okay, this is when the other side of the bullpen gets to throw, and it's going to be really up to them to get us through this. And I'm like, just a little bit of a white flag.
And what do you make of Tatis's donut?
Dude needs launch angle. And I was just reading, I was saying that before earlier in the season, and I just saw today that the stat is that he's got a negative launch angle, and so he's just hitting the ball in the ground or hitting smoking line drives, you know, with some backspin. But he's just not getting any loft, and he's leading the league, I think, in hard hit balls, you know, in terms of miles per hour off the bat. So just adjust the approach.
Still having problems with stuff low and outside.
Well, yeah, him and Manny are always chase that.
A lot of swing and miss.
Yeah, I just kind of wonder about their approach. I just wonder if they concede that part of the zone or really outside the zone, because they're just usually those two guys are usually good, you know, middle in.
Here's the opportunity. Padres come home, they face the Cubs. Then they face the White Sox. Padres play 10 of their next 13 at home. If they're going to make a statement about being really good, now that they've played a lot of substandard teams, it's got to happen right now. But 10 of the next 13 are at home, and a chance to really put together a real binge.
Yeah, the Cubs are tough, though.
Exactly.
I mean, Bregman just looks good over there.
Yes.
So that'll be a test.
Padre fans forum chat box. That's the leadoff topic. You hit leadoff. Get in right now. Fans forum chat box is open for business. We talk baseball, which means we also talk Dodger Blue and Angels going to hell.
The Angels are going to hell?
Yeah.
How is that possible? Hey, bumps in the road for the Dodgers and Angels.
Let's talk about the Dodgers. Bullpen implodes again. They got all this money tied up, first in Edwin Diaz, who's now gone 3 to 5 months with the elbow surgery. All this money tied up with Tanner Scott and Blake Trinan, and they can't trust him. Real big issue. Dodgers are stumbling a little bit because the bullpen is stumbling again like it did last year. So that's a setback. Justin Wroblewski, who? This year's version of the left-hander who saved him last year in the World Series. Wroblewski's got a 1.50 ERA. Nobody expected this from a plug-in, fill-in, take the ball on this one start, and they have to keep giving him the ball because he continues to pitch pretty well. 1.50 ERA. The debate about all the rules pertaining to Ohtani just grow and grow and grow. It's like everybody's got a beef with MLB as it relates to Ohtani and the Dodger batting order and the Dodger pitching rotation. You know, now they're barking about the 13-pitcher rule with the roster. The Dodgers have 14 pitchers because they list Ohtani as a dual-position guy. But Major League Baseball put this rule into effect when the unicorn came to the Angels. There was a number, a limit, how many pitchers you could have on the active roster, but Ohtani got the exception because he's a unicorn. They didn't do this with the Dodgers. This was in effect while he was with the Angels, but now suddenly managers are barking about that. There's also a secondary rule. If Ohtani comes out of the game as a pitcher, should he be out of the lineup, period?
Yeah.
The Dodgers are of the opinion, no. He can become my DH because he's already been in the active lineup. We'll just give up the DH spot and have to plug another player in. So there's barking
now
about...
That seems weird.
They're barking about the Ohtani pitcher to DH rule, and if he's pulled from the game, does he have to come out of the batting order? That's interesting. And then, of course, this all comes on the heels of why are the umpires giving Ohtani more time to warm up on the mound if he's the last batter at home plate, or why are they delaying the start of an inning if Ohtani comes off the mound, he has to get his gear to come to home plate to bat as a DH. Just goes on and on and on as it relates to the Dodgers. Oh, by the way, speaking of Dodgers-ex-Dodgers, Trevor Bauer last night,
I saw this.
Threw a no-hitter.
Yeah, but it was only 7 innings.
And the Long Island Ducks in the Independent, a no-hitter for Trevor Bauer.
Well, you did it, Trevor.
Yeah.
You know, big time in the independent ball.
Long Island Athletic Association Hall of Fame.
I know.
Just amazing. Just amazing.
Sign him. Bring him up to the show.
He's waiting for his cell phone to ring, and the battery's not working.
Yeah,
His cell phone
exactly.
hasn't rung yet.
Yeah.
So anyhow, that's a Trevor Bauer side story. Angels. I hate to say I told you so. First of all, this is a bad setback. Logan O'Hoppe, the star catcher, fractured wrist, out. That's a big blow to them. They're starting to give up on all the pitchers, all the refugees that they brought in. Jordan Romano, who was a closer for the Phillies and the Blue Jays, just DFA'd. His ERA is 10.50. He can't get anybody out. Angels have taken him off the roster. The bullpen has now blown 9 save opportunities or games this season, and we're only in the 4th week of the season. Angels have lost 7 of their last 8. They're now 12-17, and there's really no pitching left to go get. So they had a nice little start, and now, wow, lost 7 of their 8, and there's nobody in the bullpen getting anybody out.
No.
Not Pomerantz, not Romano. Joyce is not back. Tough set of circumstances for the Halos. So your response on all things Dodger rules, your response on Halos going to hell.
Oh, no, the Dodgers are having trouble. You know, let me get out my violin and start, you know. Okay, first of all, the bullpen, it was shaky last year with Blake Trinan and Tanner Scott. Yeah. And, you know, they got to address that. You've even said move Roki into the bullpen. That might be a solution. But, you know, this Wroblewski thing, I remember at the beginning of the year, we were asking questions, you know, what about Blake Snell? He's not coming back, and, you know, he'll be late, and they don't have enough pitching. And then a lot of the Dodger fans were saying, don't worry about it. Wroblewski is our ace in the hole that we don't really talk about much. So Dodger fans saw this coming, you know. And then as far as Ohtani, you know, again, everyone's picking on the Dodgers. The first, Justin Turner tweeted this, and I thought this was a very interesting take. He says, with the 13-pitcher rule, he says the problem isn't the Dodgers. The problem is the rule. So rather than getting into this fight about whether you can have 13 pitchers or does Ohtani count as a 14th or whatever, just get rid of the rule. Why do you have to have only 13 pitchers? I mean, if you are in a situation, why can't you expand that to 14 or 15 pitchers if you've got the position players to make up the rest of the lineup?
Because it shortens your bench. I have virtually no bench at all.
But let the team manage that, And if they shorten the bench and they screw themselves, then they're going to have, they're going to have to use a pitcher to come in, to play outfield and maybe take a few swings. But just let them live and die by those consequences.
It's an interesting discussion, but he's a unique player. This rule was in effect when he first came here because he was a unicorn.
Well, yeah, he is. I mean, but I don't know. I just think the rule is a dumb rule. It's an arbitrary rule.
So what are we doing about the batting order rule? If he comes off the mound.
No. If you are pulled from the game, you can't be half pulled from a game. You can't say, the right fielder is going to still play right field, but he's not going to hit anymore. I mean, you can't do that. So you can't suddenly switch him to DA. Well, maybe they could do that, because they'll do they'll have like a 2 or 3, rotation when they make the change, and they'll move like a second baseman to left field or something. Maybe they could move Ohtani from pitcher to DH. Well, actually, that sounds like it's right.
I don't know. A lot of arguing.
Yeah.
What are you telling me about the Angels?
Jose Soriano needs to pitch every game, 9 innings. I mean, what are they going to do? Like Pomeranz and Yates? I mean, how are those guys doing?
Yates is on a rehab and getting shelled.
Unbelievable.
I mean, they bought all these guys for $1.50, and this is what they're getting, $1.50 worth of terrible performances.
But, you would hope that like maybe 1 out of 6, 1 out of 7 you'd hit. I don't know if any of them hit.
No, not at this point in time, no.
That's too bad.
Plus, the 2 starters that they signed are still on the DL and still on rehab.
Oh, yeah, Manoah.
And then Rodriguez and Manoah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's tough.
Who's going to play catcher now?
They've got some minor leaguers they're bringing up, but nobody's equal to Ohapi.
Of course not.
Just a fluke, tough break.
It sucks for an Angel fan.
Dodger fans, are you being persecuted? Do you have an opinion about what everybody in baseball is saying about the Dodgers? If you have a persecution complex, Fans Forum chat box is open. Tell us what you think. Or if you wish to throw a beanball and pile on the Dodgers because they're bending the rules, circumventing the rule, trying to reinvent the rule, jump on board. I'm sorry I'm hyper. I did drink Mountain Dew this morning before I came here.
Yeah, you did.
Okay, let's talk about that. Let's talk about the other big story in baseball, managers. Wow.
Alex Cora gets fired in Boston.
He's the first one. He might not be the only one this week. I was absolutely stunned that this happened, but they've not played well at all. But I swear to you, John, you go back 2 weeks on this podcast, I said 2 things about the Red Sox 2 weeks ago. There's no power in their batting order, real young batting order. And by the way, they don't have any pitching beyond Garrett Crochet right now because they've got injuries. So Cora gets fired at 10-17. Guy took him to World Series. Guy's been in the playoffs. A lot of negative reaction. Trevor Story, who's one of the few veterans on the roster, said, why is it his fault? It's bigger than his fault. What Trevor Story did not say is what I'll say. It's the general manager's fault. Craig Breslow, former Major League pitcher, is a general manager. You go back and you look at the transactions made in just the last year and a half. They're all Craig Breslow's decisions. Ralph Devers, gone. Did they get equal value for him?
No,
not at all.
They got one young kid pitcher, but jury's out.
And who's the third baseman with the Cubs that used to be at Fenway Park last year hitting home runs? Bregman. He's gone.
Yes.
Breslow did not keep him. And then you add into the equation just other guys that have left the scene. This is more about the general manager's mistakes in player personnel than it is Alex Cora. They signed Ranger Suarez of Philadelphia, and there's something psyche going on with him. He can't pitch at Fenway Park. Left-hander. So this is more about the GM than it is Alex Cora. I bet Cora gets hired, and I bet there's going to be some more openings because I don't think we're done with this. Let's talk about the Red Sox situation spilling now into the Mets situation. That's an ill-fitting roster. That's a general manager, David Stearns, who came from Milwaukee, making acquisitions that might not be the right acquisitions beyond Soto. His starting rotation's got an ERA of 4.24, and they're force-feeding the kids. And yet they've taken two left-handed pitchers who had success as starters, Sean Manaea and David Peterson, and put them in the bullpen where they can't get comfortable. Why would you do that, considering the kids are struggling? So the Mets have got some real chemistry problems there. And Devin Williams, you talk about somebody who just woke up one morning and can't throw strikes. The ex-Milwaukee closer whom they got from the Yankees, he's not the same pitcher right now. So they've got all kinds of problems there. And there's a problem in Philadelphia. They are 9-19. They're on the road. And I will tell you, when Dave Dombrowski and his three top executives show up in the team hotel last night in Atlanta for this road trip, something's going to happen in Philadelphia. Now, their pitching staff's been shredded by injuries. That's a piece of the equation. Chris Sanchez can't pitch every day. Nola can't pitch every day. That's a problem. Bullpen's a problem. Schwarber's hitting 189. Bryce Harper looks to be half the player he used to be. Now, he's got a lot of mileage. He's had a lot of injuries. But, you know, if Bryce Harper's hitting 250 with an occasional home run, and he's being paid $35 million a year, they got a bunch of people that are not producing. So Philadelphia might make a managerial change, even though they gave Rob Thompson an extension in spring training. And the other one is Houston, but they just gave a vote of confidence about an hour ago to Joe Espada, their manager. Their problem in Houston is old batting order. I mean, a lot of guys are gone. The other problem is 4 of their 5 starters in the rotation are on the disabled list with major injuries, led by their ace, Hunter Brown. So they're not going to fire Espada, but there could be more changes pretty quickly. And if there are more changes quickly, maybe Cora winds up going one of these other places.
Oh, yeah. So I could see that happening.
That's my baseball notebook. Go ahead.
You know, I think the Red Sox assumed that Bregman was going to re-sign with them, and clearly he didn't. They didn't really have a plan, it seemed, to replace that quality of a hitter in the lineup. I mean, it was like a foolish move there. So I'm with you. I think it's a GM's problem. You know, the Phillies, remember like about a month or two ago, we were talking about how the Phillies ownership said that Bryce Harper is no longer a superstar. Mm-hmm. And everyone was aghast. How can you say that? And now look at the numbers. So it's kind of proven out. And then when you think of Bryce Harper, you always think of Manny Machado, and then you ask that question, is Manny Machado still a superstar? He sure ain't hitting like that. But as far as the Phillies go, Dave Dombrowski, I remember he was the GM of the Montreal Expos.
And Detroit and Florida, and he's done a great job lots of places, and did a great job in Philadelphia, but they got all these issues now on that roster.
Yeah, he's got big problems. These are 3 franchises that we always think of as the class of Major League Baseball, and they're all going through it.
High payroll.
Yeah.
Every one of them.
Mm-hmm.
So that Cora got screwed.
He did.
So you're a baseball fan? Feel free. Anybody knows about Fenway Park? Jump on board. Fans Forum chat box is open for business. I wonder how your guy, Mr. Me, Myself, and I enjoy being a member of the last place New York Mets.
There's all kinds of rumors that he and Lindor have a problem. The clubhouse, be a fly on the wall there, be interesting.
Yeah, before the clubhouse blows up.
Yeah. It always happens with the Mets.
Something's not right in New York. That's all things baseball. Our chat box is open. Feel free to join us. We go from that to what consumed me over the entire freaking weekend, the NFL Draft. Wow.
Wall-to-wall coverage of this event, Lee. It's gotten bigger and more spectacular.
Okay, here's the item. You like the NFL? You got to go to my newly designed website right now. Take a look at the website because I think you'll find it really easy to navigate. I put out my NFL Draft report card. It took me forever to write it. Compilation of all 32 teams, what I liked, what I did not like, with a letter grade. So when we're done, check the website, come back to us, give us a thumbs up, give us a thumbs down. You want to jump on board now, Fans Forum chat box. Let's just rate them. New York Giants. They got Harbaugh. He inherited a quarterback, the running backs, 2 wide receivers, young offensive line, and then they drafted Arvell Reese at the top. They drafted a left tackle from Miami with the 2nd pick. They drafted a cover corner with the 3rd pick, and then another wide receiver. I give him an A+. I think with what he inherited and what they just added, boy, the Giants making a move back. So they get my top letter grade. As horrible as the New York Jets have been, what they did to stockpile, trade, maneuver to get 3 number 1 picks this year, they took the pass rusher and David Bailey. They took Sadir, the great pass-catching tight end, who kind of looks like Kellen Winslow, with the 2nd pick. They went and got the big play Indiana receiver, Omar Cooper. And then obviously, pretty good special teams guy, little guy, cover corner guy from Indiana, D'Angelo Pons. I give the Jets letter grade of A. And here's the asterisk next to that. They got 3 more number 1s next year in the year of the quarterback. So the Jets get an A. It is hard for me to believe that we would say anything with positive acclamations towards the Cleveland Browns. All the problems, all the mismanagement, the Haslams, that quarterback quandary, they had a really good draft. It's the 3rd good draft in a row. They've drafted a lot of defense. They went into the marketplace and got an offensive tackle with the 1st-round pick. They got 2 wide receivers, and they desperately needed wide receivers, and they got a safety. I ranked them in the top 4. I thought what the Browns did was just exceptional. Quarterback quandary continues there, but they put people around. And remember, they signed 4 offensive linemen free agents to complement the draft pick. So Cleveland, boom, I think a real turnaround. You may not like Jerry Jones, but you must agree they draft really well. And for where they were and the fact they did not trade up after talking about trading up, to wind up with Caleb Downs out of Ohio State, the safety, who I think is the most complete of any of the DBs there, athletically, physically, and mentally. Caleb Downs, and then they went and got a massive pass rusher in Malachi Lawrence, and they've been very active in the offseason, adding components to the defensive front. So they've really taken a lot of action to fix everything there on the defensive side of the ball. I gave Dallas a real positive. I don't need to do a drug test. I gave Arizona a really good letter grade, a grade of A. I mean, they had a tough call, and we talked about it on the draft preview shows this past week. What do they do at 3? Do they keep the pick, take a pass rusher, keep the pick, take the running back, trade the pick back, stockpile more because they need a lot of help? They kept the pick, and they took Jeremiah Love. He's a great player, a great person, big physical specimen. And then they went out and they got themselves a quality offensive guard with their 2nd pick. And then the 3rd pick, I don't know if this is the quarterback of the future, but they're going to coach him. Carson Beck came from Georgia and Miami. He wound up going there. So they're doing business their own way. I thought Arizona did really well. And then Philadelphia sat there and expected trades around them, sat there, did not make a deal to move A.J. Brown yet. That's coming. And Mekhi Lemon fell to them, the USC star wide receiver. Glitzy, little dingy sometimes, personality-wise. But they got him. Surprised they took a quarterback that they're going to convert into a unicorn. Cole Payton, North Dakota State, big monster kid. Remember Taysom Hill, BYU, went to New Orleans?
Yeah.
He's played all these different roles at New Orleans for 9 years. I think Payton is going to be the same type of player in Philadelphia.
Well, that was John Cooper's sleeper guy for the draft, remember?
Yes, exactly. They also traded for Jonathan Grenard, pass rusher from the Minnesota Vikings, and they got another pass-catching tight end, Eli Stowers. So Philadelphia, despite all the controversy around them, I thought they had themselves a really good draft. So there's a bunch of have-nots I thought did a really, really good job. And John Riley says,
yeah, I was going to say that. It's nice to see the Jets, the Browns, and the Cardinals on the, the goody two-shoes list, making the right moves. Now, the Jets, you're talking about I love seeing the Jets being competitive. But who the hell is the quarterback? Is it still Justin Fields?
No, Justin Fields is gone.
So who's the quarterback with the Jets?
That's a good question.
Bring back Joe Flacco. I mean, what are they doing? I mean, it's great that they're adding a lot of these young kids, but I'm trying to remember who the hell the quarterback was for the Jets.
I have to look it up. I got so many names.
Yeah, we get even Hacksaw has like a brain hemorrhage every once in a while. The other thing is that the Cowboys. You say you don't not like Jerry Jones. A lot of Cowboy fans have been on this podcast in the fans forum and have said that they don't like Jerry Jones as the GM. They think that he's just so full of himself.
But they draft well.
Yeah, that's what you're saying, that they're drafting really well. And so why the heck do they still have trouble?
Injuries have had a lot to do with it. Injuries in the offensive front. They had 1 year, the entire defensive front line was wiped out. Then another year, their secondary was wiped out. You look at the roster and say, boy, there's a lot of really good athletes there. And I think getting Caleb Downs is a really good athlete. By the way, the Jets quarterback, 1 year rental, Geno Smith.
Oh, that's right. That's where he landed.
Yeah.
Okay.
He landed when they opened the door for Justin Fields to be moved.
That was the quarterback carousel.
Exactly. So Cleveland, how about that?
Hey, right on. You said they signed a fifth quarterback, too.
They drafted a fifth quarterback. But, I mean, it's going to be Deshaun Watson or Shedeur Sanders because there's nobody else out there.
Well, Dylan Gabriel's still there, right?
Yeah, but that doesn't mean a hill of beans. But what they've done is they've gone out and they signed 4 veteran free agent offensive linemen who are all starters, led by Zion Johnson of the Chargers. And then they go out and they turn around and they draft more quality people. And they drafted 2 wide receivers. They were virtually null and void in the wide receiver department last year. So, I mean, they've added components for either Deshaun Watson or Shedeur Sanders with a new coach and Todd Monken.
Now, if you were to go back in Browns history, when was the last time that they were like a serious team that was in the playoffs consistently? Would you have to go back to the 1980s?
I'd have to go back maybe to the Brian Sipe, Bernie Kosar eras.
That's what I'm thinking.
Exactly. But then, players' shelf life is this. And then when those guys get hurt before they get to the shelf life, the Kosar went out with concussions, and they've never been the same since.
No, they haven't.
And they had the first pick in the draft in 1999, and they drafted a great quarterback from Kentucky, Tim Couch, and they promptly played him, and he got murdered. And he retired because he got hurt so badly. And they've had, what's the number? Since 1999, the Browns have had 41 different starting quarterbacks since 1999.
Crazy.
Just nutso. So those are the ones that had really good drafts. Agree, disagree. Fans forum chat box is open for NFL fans. Come out throwing. Tell us what you think. For everybody who did well, there are some people that did not.
Yeah, the draft losers.
Let's just talk about this. Now, part of me says to Sean Payton in Denver, what the hell are you doing? You drafted a fullback, a goal line running back with your top pick, and you drafted another tight end when you already got 2 tight ends on the roster to catch balls? What are you doing? But they didn't have a number 1, but their number 1 is the guy they traded for, Jalen Waddle, who's a star.
Yeah, he's legit.
So I understand that. But I didn't understand what they did with taking a goal line running back after you drafted a running back a year ago, and you're kind of deep in running back. So I thought Denver had a strange pick. I don't understand anything San Francisco's done. Didn't understand the wide receiver they drafted. Did not understand the defensive linemen they drafted early on. They had name marquee players and neon lights are on the board when their choices came up, and they did not do it. And I was just really kind of surprised at what John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan have done. And the other factor is they still have Brandon Ayuk. They did not trade him. And they don't want him back because of what he did to the team and his rehab from knee surgery. Why would you not flip that into another decent mid-round draft pick, get that baggage off your roster, get another pick to go get more players? So I thought San Francisco's choices were really unique. John Lynch stood up at the press conference yesterday and said he was defiant. He says, we don't answer to you. I've never seen John Lynch like this, and I know John Lynch personally. To you, the media. We don't answer to the fans because this is what we do every minute of every day. We know personnel. By the way, go check Kyle Shanahan's one-loss record. In a sense, he's correct. So we'll see if he's right. Minnesota, they spent 3 years, John, because of cap issues, getting rid of players. And here's Minnesota, after they streamline their defensive front, get rid of the high-priced players, taking a defensive tackle who's had 2 surgeries on his feet. Defensive tackle. And that's going to be your number 1 pick with a red tag because of his health. I don't understand that draft pick. And this comes after 3 years of purging the roster of players. Pittsburgh. It's 2026, right?
Yeah.
That's referred to as the 21st century, right?
Yes.
Would please somebody inform the Steelers that this is the 21st century and conduct your business accordingly? Their biggest need? Well, no answer at quarterback yet because Aaron Rodgers has not made a decision, and here we are beyond the deadline date. Secondly, desperate need for game-breaking wide receivers, speed and all that. And what do? They draft a second-tier offensive tackle with their top pick. Don't take a QB, don't take a wide receiver. Take a second-tier offensive tackle. When they do draft a quarterback, it's a kid that got hurt at Penn State who reached a plateau as a young quarterback and never got ever better again, Drew Allar. I just don't understand the methodology of the Steelers. And this is with the new coaching staff and Mike McCarthy. It is the 21st century. Here's the thing that drives me screwy. They had 12 draft picks in their pocket when this thing started on Thursday. You could have packaged multiple picks, and you could have traded up in that first round and gotten the right offensive tackle or the right guard or a quality speed receiver. There were 4 of them available, and they didn't do any of that. And they took all these weird choices. So, Pittsburgh, you're losing me. Kansas City. So we spend the entire offseason watching the Chiefs let all these guys go. You know, the trading of Trent McDuffie goes to San Francisco. They lose Jalen Watson, who was their second-best cornerback. He went. I don't understand Kansas City shedding its roster of quality players and then turning around, trading up from where they were in the draft. They were at 9-29, and they traded to the number 6 spot, and they took a cornerback from LSU that they could have had in the 20s. They projected this guy that high. Nobody else did. So I was really surprised with that choice. And they also, with their other first-round pick, they took this stud defensive tackle whose claim to fame was all the draft analysts said this kid underachieved. Kid was more interested in buying Maseratis than he was playing for. That was their second pick. Now maybe they think taking this defensive tackle, putting him next to Chris Jones Chris Jones is going to teach his kid to become a true player. But what a weird choice there. So I thought Kansas City's draft was weird. And then Tennessee, lots of needs around the quarterback Cam Ward, but I thought they reached. I mean, with the 4th pick in the draft, they took Carnell Tate, wide receiver, Ohio State. Most of the draft combines did not have him rated as a number 1 wide receiver. They had him back in the first round, and he went number 4. So I thought that was strange. I thought they took a defensive lineman from Auburn, Keldrick Fowler. I didn't understand that pick, and they needed lots of players, and I just didn't think they got the right player. So anyhow, I understand Sean Payton because he does have Jalen Waddle there, but I don't understand any of these other guys. Go ahead.
Yeah, you look at you dissing on John Lynch Jr.
I'm just asking a question.
I know.
I don't get paid here to be a cheerleader.
Aren't you like the godfather of him or something like that? I mean, I know you worked for his father for a long time.
John Jr. is great, but I just don't understand those choices.
Yeah. my buddy's a Niners fan, and he was.
I bet he didn't know who Des Stribling was.
No, but that's what he was saying. He's like, we need an offensive guard, What are you doing, with these picks?
He picks a wide receiver from Ole Miss that was not ranked in the top 6.
Yeah, that's weird. I mean, and there's been such an exodus of wide receivers there. Deebo Samuel, Ayuka's got halfway out the door. They got rid of Juwan Jennings, too.
Sure.
So they got to replace all of those. And then, with the Chiefs, and by the way, I was going to correct you, but Michael King beat us to it. It was McDuffie. He went to the Rams.
Yeah,
not the 49ers.
Yeah,
Rams. Why? Okay, it was weird. Let's say let McDuffie and the other cornerback go, and then they prioritize this new young cornerback. I mean, McDuffie is like an all-pro, isn't he? So why would you get rid of him?
Well, big dollars, mega dollars. And they got a Rams #1 pick for a guy. But if he was the only one that defected, I'd say that'd be no problem. But they lost the other cornerback who came out here to the West Coast. They lost a third guy, Scott, who went to Cincinnati, and he was their nickelback. I mean, I think they've lost their top 4 DBs. So then you trade up, and you get the guy from LSU, but that guy could have been gotten at 15 or 20.
Well, we know what we're doing. You got to listen to John Lynch Jr. Well, who are you to speculate? You know the draft. We know personnel. All I
know is all the mock drafts that I read, Mansour Delane, the cornerback that they drafted, was viewed as being anywhere from 20 to 30, and they took him 6th.
You're already getting smacked around on social media about that comment because Chiefs fans are saying, you've been a Chief hater your whole life.
Don't matter.
And by the way, if they didn't take Mansour Delane there at 6, he would have been gone by 7 or 8. So
and then Peter Woods, defensive tackle, Clemson.
Yeah,
chronic underachiever. Now maybe Chris Jones will influence that kid. I don't know.
But I just remember talking about the Chiefs last year and the year before, how their offensive tackles were like turnstiles.
Yep.
And so, that would seem to be their biggest need.
Well, but they've gone out by virtue of free agency. And, of course, in free agency, they got the Super Bowl running back from Seattle. They fixed some pieces. But then they created this massive hole, and they go to fill that hole, and they don't get the right players to fill that hole.
Jeez. Hey, GM Hacksaw.
If I were king. But anyhow, that's where we are. And you got a comment on the Steelers? It is the 21st century, right?
Yeah, I'm just like, why is this such a quandary with the quarterback? Why if Aaron Rodgers is stringing me along, I'd say at some point just F you, I'm going to go with one of my guys. And then I remember they sort of made the sentimental pick a number of years ago to take Kenny Pickett from Pitt. And
how'd that work out?
Not so well. And now it seems like Drew Allar is like, again, the Pennsylvania kid, the somewhat of a local kid there. There was really high aspirations for him. They thought he was going to be a Heisman contender.
He had a phenomenal sophomore year. And then he stopped growing. And a lot of people are blaming the Penn State coaching staff of James Franklin that he just regressed.
Weird.
So and then obviously he suffered the shattered ankle too. I just think Pittsburgh had all these needs, and Pittsburgh had all these draft picks in their pocket. That's where you do your creative trading.
Yeah.
This is the 21st century. You are allowed to make a phone call and make a deal.
Well, they're the host. They're the host nation. You'd hope that they would be making wise choices.
All I need to tell you is that they had over 820,000 fans over the 3 days. And it was a spectacular venue and event right there on the point.
Yeah,
in Pittsburgh. By the time they drafted Allar, Pittsburgh fan probably liquored up with a lot of Rolling Rock and Iron City beer. They were booing the pick.
Yeah,
in their own town.
Yeah,
their own club.
That's pretty harsh. Hey, by the way, I liked how at the beginning of the draft they brought out a lot of the Pittsburgh legends like Mel Blount and all that. That was good stuff.
Yeah. So that's where we are. Those are the ones that I did not think had a good report card. You have an opinion? That's why we do this podcast, because we tell you what we think. You can be king for a day. Tell us what you think, but you got to be on Fans Forum. Nobody's going to know what you think unless you hit and jump in Fans Forum chat box. Now, we're not done because we got a couple more football notes we got to get to.
Yeah, we can talk about the local teams.
Rams. Speaking of debate, damn, there's a lot of conversation about why did you do that? That was really the surprise. I mean, the Rams' decision to make the choice to go get Tyler Simpson at quarterback. He was ranked 49th on the board. He was the 49th best player on the board, and the Rams took him at 13. And this is a Rams team that has depth problems at wide receiver. We don't know the depth of the problem with Puka Nacua. We obviously know there's a lot of mileage on Davante Adams. Why did you not take a wide receiver at 13? There were at least two that were there that could play immediately. Or why did you not take an offensive tackle because you're kind of thin in the offensive tackle front? Or why did you not take the pass rusher, Ruben Bain, who had dropped down the board, who was still there, and add him to the collection of guys that go get the quarterback? Now, that being said, because I was asked earlier this morning at a meeting, what'd you think of the Rams? I say I trust McVay and I trust Les Snead because they are pretty good roster builders and they coach them up. So they see things in Simpson that maybe a lot of other people don't think, and they'll have a full year at least to fast forward his development behind Matthew Stafford. But they took the 49th ranked quarterback and they took another tight end rather than fill in all these other blanks. You know, they could have traded up. They could have made a deal to go get Ione, the beast of the offensive lineman, maybe the best offensive guard. They didn't trade up and didn't do that. He wound up going to Baltimore. Could have taken Bain, which I think would have been a huge addition to what is already a pretty good group led by Jared Verse and those guys. So I thought the Rams draft was kind of weird. Chargers. I'll give you two different versions of what I felt. The first version was, this is a hell of a player. Talking about Hakeem Mesidor, kid out of Miami. His numbers are unbelievable. 12.5 sacks, 17.5 tackles for losses. High motor guy. Now, is that because he played on the other side of Ruben Bain, who got double coverage all the time? We're going to find out. But I think this is a pretty good player. It's a physical force player. He's older. He's 25. He's not a kid. So I thought that the Chargers pick was really good. Maybe they were kind of backed into making that choice because 7 offensive linemen came off the board before the Chargers picked at 22. So that's maybe a bit of the rationale. They took a wide receiver who can run like the wind. 4.26 speed out of Mississippi State, but he's only 164 pounds.
Yes.
And you're not going to put a 164-pound guy to return kicks despite his blazing speed. So I thought that was a little bit of a reach, and they don't need wide receivers because they're at least 4 deep there at wide receiver, so I didn't like that. Second round, they bypassed 3 offensive linemen. One of them was a tackle, one of them was a guard, one was a tackle who could be converted into a guard. A little bit surprised there, too. They did draft 3 offensive linemen really late, but those guys are projects. Those guys would be on somebody's developmental squad, and maybe we'll see you in a year or two. We don't know. So I thought the draft potentially had a great upside to it. I do like Mesidor, but I'm sorry. I just can't buy the theory of Harbaugh and Joe Ortiz that great draft. No, it's not. Your offensive line, your interior offensive line is worse now than it was the last game of the playoffs where your quarterback almost got decapitated.
Yeah.
I mean, their 2 starting offensive guards are number 1 washouts who've been with 4 different teams combined and got released before the Chargers picked them. And those are going to be your 2 starting guards? I don't buy the theory.
Mekhi Becton? Is he still around?
Oh, yeah, he'll probably be in the hallway applying to do this podcast. Nobody wants him. So I like what they did early, but I don't like what they did after that. Raiders, they got the quarterback of the future, Fernando Mendoza. But after that, I kind of disagree. They had a chance to draft offensive linemen, and they did not. They wound up getting a safety. And then they wound up taking a bit of a gamble. Jermod McCoy out of Tennessee was electric as a player, really gifted. Supposed to be a high number 1 pick. Big knee injury. Didn't play at all last season. Now rumors that he's had more setbacks. He might be facing another surgery. So he went from what many thought was going to be a top 5 pick to a 4th-round pick. Raiders took him, but there's a health issue here, and he's not come back. So I thought the Raiders they didn't address everything I thought they could. They did draft a safety in the second round, but to me, they still are deficient in the offensive line. Okay, you're on the clock. You're going to tell me about the Rams and the quarterback choice, agree or disagree with if I were king in the Chargers, and your thoughts on the Raiders.
Well, the Rams had to pick a quarterback of the future, didn't they?
But next year's going to be 6 first-round quarterback picks. Why Tyler Simpson?
Well, they must see something in him.
Exactly.
Okay.
And if you trust McVay and you trust Snead, okay, then you subscribe to, okay, that's why they did it.
Yeah, and I know, when was their next pick? Was it like beyond, because he was ranked 39 or 42?
He was a 49th player on 49. The board, and he went 13th.
Right, but I wonder when was the Rams' second pick? Because would Simpson have been available then? That's an interesting question.
I don't know that he would have been then. They wound up taking a tight end with a second-round pick.
Yeah.
Why tight end? They drafted a tight end last year in Ferguson.
Yeah, I mean, so we can second guess these things all the time. And to your point, the Chargers, I was expecting their first, second, and third pick would be all offensive line, and I don't understand why they weren't doing that.
Well, Messidor's a load though, and Khalil Mack has got 150,000 miles on him. And Messidor is the heir apparent.
Okay.
You have to get a big wide body guy who can, and he's high motor. He's more high motor than Khalil Mack is. So I didn't have a beef with the pick, but the fact that they didn't do anything in terms of the name offensive guards or tackles in the second round, I said, wow.
Or they trade up or do something creative.
They didn't have a lot of currency to trade up.
Okay. Well, then they signed a kid that was a center that was apparently like really smart, but
from Florida,
but very undersized.
Yeah, 305. I don't know any 305-pound guards in the league, and I think he's going to be a guard.
Yeah, they're going to bump him out to guard. So, again, these guys, they study this. This is their career getting this right. Some of these are questionable picks. The Raiders, I'm just thrilled that they're like relevant, and maybe they didn't hit on every single pick in the draft, but at least there's some smart people there that are helping them make decisions. During the draft, I love watching the war rooms when they show the camera in there. But when I was looking at the Raider war room, I didn't see Tom Brady. I thought he'd be up there.
No, he was consulting. I know that. But Spytek was making the choices. So, I mean, the Raiders' picks were Mendoza at number 1, Trayton Stukes, a safety out of Arizona, really good football player at number 2. Obviously, McCoy, the gamble at number 3. Mm-hmm. And they also drafted Mike Washington, a power running back with speed from Arkansas, who I was surprised hung around the board as late as he did. He went there, but he's not going to play very much because you got Ashton Genty. So they didn't address the inside of their offensive line.
Interesting. But, I mean, you had always said that, they added all the skill guys on offense.
Defense in free agency.
Yeah, but the Raiders already because they had Genty, you were going to have Mendoza, and they had receivers.
The 2 tight ends, and they got 2 wide receivers.
The 2 tight ends. So I remember you were always implying, I guess, going into the offseason that the Raiders' deficiency was all on defense.
And they spent $231 million on defense and free agency.
That's right.
And they go to the draft board, and you got a myriad of guards, tackles, or tackles who could be converted to guards, and didn't draft any of those guys.
Interesting. So, you think you need some guys to open up some holes for Genty
and pass protect?
Yeah.
So that's where we are. You're a Rams fan. You're a Chargers fan. You're a Raiders fan.
Well, I have a question for you though with the Raiders.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you think Mendoza is going to be transitioned into the starting role maybe halfway through the year, towards the end, or not till next year?
I think it depends on what Kirk Cousins does. If Cousins is leading his guys into a wild card playoff race slot, they're not going to sit him. Mm-hmm. Just bring Mendoza along. I mean, there'll be an adjustment for Mendoza in terms of speed of the game and the quality of defenses. But I like Mendoza. I think he's got a phenomenal amount of qualities to him that are very, very positive. But there's no urgency to put him out there and let him go through a painful learning curve when you got Cousins on a 1-year rental at a very low price because everybody else is paying him the bulk of his contract.
Yeah,
and if he puts their ass in the playoffs, that'll be a place they haven't been in a while.
Hell yeah. Good for the Raiders.
Okay, last topic before we get to halftime. We got some other college football stuff here to talk about.
Yeah, we've got the San Diego State Aztecs and Vandy.
Yeah, let's talk about the Aztecs. This was an all-time low. Only 2 players from the Mountain West Conference, 2, One from New Mexico and one from the Aztecs got drafted, obviously led by Chris Johnson, who went in the first round to Miami. Good for him. Bad situation. Doesn't matter. He'll get the chance to play early in his career. Congrats to Chris Johnson at San Diego State. But what an all-time low. Only 2 Mountain West players taken in the draft. Now, in terms of acquisitions, flurry of guys signed after the draft to contracts. Gabe Placentia, field goal kicker.
A hefty lefty.
Do you know which way the wind blows in Chicago in the winter? He is going to the Bears.
Cool.
And we'll see how this equates. Bryce Phillips had a solid career at San Diego State. He gets signed as a free agent by Kansas City. Christian Jones, huge offensive tackle. He kind of started for almost 3 straight years at SDSU. He gets drafted by Cincinnati, which needs lineman help. And then Niles King, who had a really good season this past year, gets picked up by the Chargers as one of the 18 undrafted free agents there. So those were the guys that wound up getting drafted or getting signed after they did not get drafted. Which brings us to the Vanderbilt quarterback, Diego Pavia, did not get drafted.
Wow.
A lot of embittered people around him in his inner circle. The guy's a hell of a competitor. I'd never say 5'9" can't make it in the NFL because Doug Flutie did. But I'm just wondering if people look at Pavia and say that this kid hangs with the wrong people. I mean, his confidant is Johnny Manziel. Pass me the beer. So I mean, Pavia's off-the-field deportment, I think, shed a really bad light on him. Baltimore called him last night. The Ravens are going to let him come into their mini camp, and he's just going to go through throwing routines. I don't know whether they're going to sign him or not. However, I said this on Thursday. This should happen. Winnipeg Blue Bombers just put him on the negotiating list in the CFL.
Cool.
I think he could excel up there because he's fast, he's brassy, he's got a cannon for an arm, even at 5'9", and there's much more open space for him to move, to run, to find receivers. Pavia should look at going north of the border. So if this Baltimore thing doesn't work out, we'll see if he wants to go to the Canadian Football League or whether he just wants to go hang at the bar with Johnny Manziel. So that's where we are. Got any comments about those?
Well, I just think this is a nice feather in the hat for Sean Lewis. You know, to be able to say, hey, man, San Diego State, we've had all this history of first-round picks. I mean, I remember someone posted it. I think they've had like 6 first-round picks, like in their history. So that's sweet. But, yeah, I think only 2 drafted out of the Mountain West is just kind of telling you it's like varsity and JV, the way this, Power 4 and a group of 6 is sorting out.
Major, baby.
It is. It's great to see the hefty lefty is going to get a shot. I think that's fantastic. And, yeah, Diego Pavia, I remember he was getting bagged on at the Combine. He wasn't very accurate, so I know he seems like he'd be a competitor. I mean, if you had he's a guy you want to have on your team. I mean, but, yeah, is he going to – even Doug Flutie had his moments, but he wasn't really a star in the NFL. He was more of a, curiosity.
I bet – if the kid wants to play, go to Canada because smaller quarterbacks who can run can play up in the CFL because it's a much different, wider, longer field.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, okay, we are at halftime. Hope you're enjoying our summary of baseball and football. Podcast brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers. Full disclosure. So I pull up here to John's gated community estate, and there's workers here doing all types of work. And the first thing I got out of my car, I see this big stand of tools that say Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Milwaukee Tools. And what flashes to my mind? Mr. Do-It-Yourselfer at home. What flashes to my mind? DIXIELINE Lumber's Tool Center. John, take it from there.
Yeah, it was Milwaukee. We have a carpenter over here at our house kind of doing some repair. And, DIXIELINE carries all the big brands. They got Milwaukee, they've got DeWalt, they've got, Makita. And it's a great place to go get power tools at DIXIELINE Lumber. But the key thing about DIXIELINE, if you're going to think about who are these guys, Two things. Number one is that they are they've been in San Diego for over 100 years helping build houses. You know, this is what construction professionals depend on Dixieline for, lumber and building materials to build homes, build apartment buildings. But at the second time, they're also the great solution for the do-it-yourselfer, especially if you are a homeowner, want to replace your doors and windows. They got great deals on those too, Lee.
Go to DixieLine.com, see all the things they have to offer, but check out the tools section at Dixieline. Also, podcast brought to you by Our Lads Draft Guide. You love the National Football League draft? Well, it's come and gone. You can still order the draft guide, and it guarantees you also you will get their preseason training camp magazine, which is just as big, 200-plus pages, with the depth charts, the rosters, the breakdown of who drafted whom and why, where they fit into the new team. You like football, this is a must-read for your library. Go to ourlads.com and just fill out the entry blank. You can still get the magazine if you want the hard magazine. They've still got copies, or they will email you the digital version, and you'll have it when training camps open. And then, as we get to July and training camps open, you will get the second magazine as part of your subscription. Ourlads.com, the place to go. We are at halftime on this podcast. Just a reminder, when we're done with topics on the table, because we do sports talk the way it should be done, we give you all the information and our opinions. You get the chance to take over the podcast with Fans Forum. John, with all the people watching us on live stream, what's the easiest way on the different social platforms to join us?
The easiest way is to just look down at your live chat. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on X, if you're watching on Facebook, just go and make a comment right there. Ask a question, have a take, and drop it there. We'll see it on our screen. We'll get you involved in Fans Forum. I see a lot of our old friends. Aztec Mike is back, Lee.
Good deal.
He's back. So we're going to take a look at some of his comments as well about what's going on with the San Diego State football team.
Also want to remind you, we have reconfigured my website. It's been in operation for about 15 years, and we just decided, let's get a different look. I want you to sample it. Just go to LeeHacksawHamilton.com. It's much easier now to navigate. You'll see immediately all the stuff that I write, and you'll see all the latest videos that we post as you scroll up. So take a look at the website. You got to read my One Man's Opinion column today. I wrote it late last night, my report card on every team in the National Football League. And then feel free, if you sample the website, give us a thumbs up. Tell us what you think. Do you like it? Also want to remind you that we make 2 newsletters available every day of the week. You have a chance to subscribe to get on the email list. Just go to my website and fill in Hacksaw's Insiders Group. Get us on the email list. You get an email in the morning. You get another one in the afternoon. You'll know everything in the world of sports. It's absolutely free. Give us a thumbs up. Hit the follow button. Give us a 5-star rating. It really helps us grow this podcast. If you're on social media, follow me at Hacksaw1090 or just type in Lee Hacksaw Hamilton. Hit the follow button, and you can participate also in Hacksaw's mini polls. I'm ready for the second half. Are you ready for the second half? Because you better get ready, because you're going to be taking over after I pass out here with the rest in Fans Forum. John, where do you want to start?
Okay, let's talk about the Lakers. And they are kind of exceeding our expectations.
They are, but boy, did they get punched in the mouth last night. The Lakers lead the Houston Rockets 3-1. Lakers really playing good basketball. Houston grossly underachieving. Rockets forced 8 turnovers in the first 10 minutes. Lakers had 24 turnovers last night and got killed. At one point, the Lakers were down by 25. And here's my biggest concern. You can't ask LeBron James to play 40 minutes. LeBron played 46 minutes in the Game 3 victory, and last night he had no legs at all. LeBron had 1 basket in the first 28 minutes of the game. DeAndre Ayton didn't play worth a lick. He got thrown out of the game. And, of course, they don't have Luka, and they don't have Austin Reeves. The Lakers went 3 for 21 on three-point shots, and they got smoked. So Houston got 1 win. Houston played with a very different level of intensity. Ime Udoka ripped his team after the 3rd loss, saying the moment's too big for your guys, you're too immature. Udoka ought to criticize himself. I think he's done a rotten job offensively. At this point in time, Kevin Durant just looks like an ill-fitting piece. When he has the ball, everybody stands around. They can't push the tempo because he's always trailing, etc. Now, he's dinged up and hurt. I don't think he's going to play again in this series. The guy who said the most potent things in the locker room after the third loss was a guy who doesn't speak English. Alp Sengun, their center, who I think is a really fine player out of Turkey. He stood up in a team meeting and in Turkish with an interpreter told his players to look in the mirror, understand each individual talents, and come prepared to play differently in Game 4. And that was a really different Game 4, the way the Rockets played.
Wow.
Now, that being said, I got to come back to L.A. now for Game 5. I just don't know that Houston's going to be able to survive it. And this was a series I thought Houston could win, but Houston just looks like it's an ill-fitted basketball team with Kevin Durant. Meanwhile, Denver is in a fight for their life. Holy cow with Minnesota. And now Minnesota looks like they're dead. Those are two body bags on the side of the road after last night's game. They've lost Anthony Edwards with a hyperextended knee, and they lost Dante DiVincenzo with a ruptured Achilles tendon. Their top two guards are gone in Minnesota, and they were creating havoc with the Denver Nuggets. And Denver just emotionally was falling apart because they're not playing defense. Minnesota insulted them. Then there was a big incident at the end of the game where Nikola Jokic ran down the floor at the end of the game and confronted Jaden McDaniels, who tossed a layup in with 1 second to go and the game was already been decided. And they fined him $85,000 between Jokic and McDaniels today for what they did. So there's a lot of bad blood. But now Minnesota does not have its two guards, so I think their playoff series is over. Detroit, you've heard me mention young teams who were bad, who got good, all of a sudden get to the playoffs, and everybody's excited. You've heard me make this statement. You got to walk down that hallway the first time as kids. Detroit's walking down this hallway, and they're really struggling. They're down to the Orlando Magic. And Cade Cunningham can't do this thing by himself. He had 39 the other night, yet they're down 2-1. They wound up playing tonight. San Antonio got a scare. They've bounced back. Wembanyama went out initially with a concussion, came back a game later, has played pretty well. San Antonio looks like they're about to put Portland out of that playoff series. So those are all things NBA.
How about LeBron at the end of Game 3? I mean, he stole, or he popped the ball out, stole it, made the three to tie it right there at the end. That was just such an epic collapse by the Rockets.
Well, how about the old dogs? Not only what LeBron did, but then what Marcus Smart did in overtime. He had a three and hit 5 straight free throws.
Yeah.
They won because of those two guys.
Yeah, you could see the intelligence of Marcus Smart, no pun intended, because he's a veteran and he knows how to play in these big playoff games. And you were like, man, the Lakers made a smart move having him on the roster. So,
but what happened the next night? Both those guys were gassed.
Well, yeah, because they're old men, like you and me. We'd be gassed as well. And the Nuggets Wolves series, I know the Wolves fans are getting pretty cocky. They're like Wolves in 5, Wolves in 5.
Not anymore.
No, I mean, geez, that's a huge blow.
Oh yeah, and as good as those guys are, some of those Minnesota guys are a bunch of punks.
Well, I remember there are the two McDaniels brothers, and one of them played for the Aztecs, and the other one went to, I think, the Huskies in Washington.
Yes.
And I think that the one that went to the Huskies is the one that's on the Timberwolves. Yeah,
he had a lot of junk in his baggage.
Yeah, but they're both built the same, those two brothers. Big, tall, lean, So I know. I would like to see Denver win this particular series because I just like to watch Jokic, because he is like such a creative passer for a big man. I mean, so it's always a fun team to watch.
So that's where we are. All things NBA. You got an opinion on the Lakers? Lakers line is open for business. We had college basketball notes here.
We do. All right, but we got, I thought we were going to the NHL playoffs.
All right, let me just mention this. San Diego State just picked up their first legitimate player, veteran player from Europe. The Aztecs today are signing Luka Skoric, 6'9", power forward from Croatia. It's taken him more than a month to get this deal done because they had to buy out his contract from the Pro League team, had to come to an agreement with him, and then had to get him academically qualified. Now, this is a 23-year-old player who's got maybe 1 year left. But if New Mexico do it with their big center that they got from Europe, and he's come and gone, Aztecs can do it with them. I think this is a good get. He's shooting 41% three-point line. He's not a post player, beat your brains out inside, but he's a stroker from outside. So that's a good acquisition. That's the fourth newcomer in what will be a brand new San Diego State roster. They lose Taj DeGorville last minute. He signs at the University of Nebraska. I hate to say this. I hate to throw cold water on anything, but San Diego State's new mailing address, mid-major for the rest of your life, because they can't compete with star players. I mean, San Diego State are getting transfers from places where they can afford players. Boston University, Rice, Grambling, Prairie View. Mm-hmm. That's it. We're not talking about getting a big boy coming back. So your new mailing address is mid-major for the rest of your life, and that's sad because obviously the landscape.
Well, they signed LZ Harrington, who was really destined to a Power Four conference.
For 1 year, yes.
Yeah, so, no, he's coming back.
I know, but that guarantees nothing more than next winter.
Well, yeah. I mean, the landscape has changed.
So that's where we are there. I'd be fascinated to see their ability with a power forward that was playing in the men's pro league, which is guys in their 30s, and he was the first guy off the bench and productive at age 23 coming from Croatia.
Yeah, I like the move just because he's older, and that was the formula that worked when they went all the way to the championship game. But I remember Dutcher said we need rebounders. We need dudes that can go get the ball, that are born that way, that are wired that way. This guy clearly isn't that, but maybe that Bear Cherry guy is going to be a big rebounder.
We'll see. At the end of the day, this guy's a stroker, and they desperately need a three-point shooter with instant offense.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, if you're a college basketball fan, feel free. Jump on board. We go from that, all things hockey.
Well, my God, these playoffs. Unbelievable.
I guess the great headline, changing in the guard. I think maybe it's official. Look at what Buffalo's done. Look at what the Ducks are doing. Look at what's happening in Montreal. I mean, this has been really, really impressive. This Ducks-Edmonton Oilers series, stage is not too big for the Ducks. Those kids have just made a difference in these games. I mean, what Christian Gauthier has done, what they're getting, the productivity they're getting from all the other young big guys, including Leo Carlson, and obviously what Lucas Del Stal is doing in goal. And they've just taken apart the Edmonton Oilers. I said on TV on Saturday on KUSI, Edmonton Oilers, great goal scoring, garbage goaltending. And that's what's happened. Now, last night they started Tristan Jarry, young backup they got from Pittsburgh because the other goaltender, Connor Ingram, was a sieve. And Jarry stood on his head. Holy cow, he made so many saves in traffic, and then he got beat in overtime, and they wound up losing the game. But this Ducks team has really arrived. The intensity level, the siege in on goal, the traffic in front of the netminders. They've scored 7 power play goals against Edmonton. And Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl have just kind of disappeared off the ice.
True.
The Ducks have just been so relentless. And now they go back to Edmonton, and they can end this thing tomorrow night against the Edmonton Oilers and move to the second round. Montreal, Tampa Bay. You talk about not being intimidated, not being bullied. For every cheap shot that the Tampa Bay Lightning have played, and that's bully bolt hockey, Montreal's responded. Montreal's kids have not caved, and Montreal's got a bunch of bigs who just take no crap at all. I mean, it's been a really impressive series. A lot of us hockey guys call greasy goals, the real combat in front of the net, and a puck is in the back of the net. That's
like a scrum.
Exactly. Kind of looks like rugby with hockey sticks. Felt really bad. The era is over for the LA Kings. They face a major rebuild. They got swept by the Colorado Avalanche. They scored 5 goals in 4 games. Quite a farewell for Anze Kopitar. You know, he finishes 20 years in the NHL with the Kings. I mean, everybody universally, all the other players stayed out on the ice to shake his hand at the end of the season. I feel bad. It's like they're wasting Drew Doughty's career. I just don't know where they're going to go get more players because they got salary cap problems. I'll ask this question. As great a player as he was, as much as I liked him, I wonder if Luc Robitaille is really in over his head as president. Because they've fired everybody that's been there, including multiple general managers that worked under Robitaille, and yet nothing's improved. And they're out of the playoffs again for the 5th straight year in the first round. And the last hockey topic on the table, I really thought this was a turn-the-corner year for the San Diego Gulls. They had such a really good run in the middle of the season under Matt McIlvaine, and they got really hot. And they dragged themselves as high as 4th place in the standings, and then they faded. And they never got their goal scoring back, and they got run out of the AHL playoffs in the first round. They lost consecutive back-to-back games to the Colorado Eagles, and they are out of the playoffs. I went back and looked last night. They had 7 young European players on the roster, and none of them score goals. Not to the tune you would think the draft picks in their 2nd or 3rd year in the American League should grow into. None of them did. There needs to be a total evaluation in the Ducks about prospects and who you're getting and why you're getting, because none of these guys have done anything. It's like the 3rd year in a row where the Ducks just couldn't score goals. And this year they made the playoffs, and then they faded really badly at the end. They went 4-8 down the stretch. And they get the playoffs, and they lose 2 more. And they scored 1 goal in the playoffs. So I hope there's an evaluation. It's too bad because this is a hell of a hockey market. We see them draw 12,000 plus at the sports arena. Mm-hmm. Imagine if this was a first-place team in the A. Imagine how much money the Ducks would make off their American League team if this was a good product. And then, to me, I'm sorry, the Ducks, and they pay all the bills. I understand that. And they're all their employees. Ducks have let the Gulls down. They've let San Diego down because they've just not been able to put good young prospects here. High picks, they're all up in Anaheim, and they got them in the playoffs. Good for them. But they've just done nothing in terms of putting the right young players who could grow here. I got so many guys I've watched here for 2.5, 3 years who just don't score goals. It's sad. And this is such a freaking great hockey town.
It is. It's a stealth thing with San Diego.
You walk around the concourse at the Pechanga Arena. I mean, it is just amazing. So, anyhow, you drank a few beers. I saw you drank a few beers. I read some of your texts. There are a lot of misspellings in some of your texts. You must have enjoyed Anaheim and Montreal.
That was just so much energy in that arena.
Yeah.
And the game swung back and forth, and it seemed like the Ducks crowd sort of willed their team, to tie and then get ahead. And the whole time I'm thinking, like, look at all these fans in Orange County. And you always talk about how it's such, Orange County is a market in and of itself, when we talk about the Angels. And I was like, oh, yeah, this is so evident here watching these Ducks.
It's called correctly. The correct term as it relates to Ducks hockey, Orange Country.
Yeah, there you go. It's the Orange Country. So that was great. But how about that final goal? And they had the view of the camera, but the skate kind of eclipsed part of the puck. And I think they must have done some geometry, some math to figure out that it cleared the line, right?
Yeah. It hit the shot in overtime underneath the goaltender's pads as he was moving, trying to locate it. His body might have moved the puck across the line, but you can see the puck almost virtually across the line. And it's not 3D, but to me it looked like it was a goal. And they took 5 minutes, so they looked at every conceivable angle possible, and it wound up being the game-winning goal. Edmonton did not protest it. I think Edmonton knew. But that game did not change on just that one shot. That game changed on the whole chemistry of the Ducks kids and how well they play.
Yeah. I mean, you got to give it up for Anaheim. And earlier in the game, I remember, there was some controversy that was going on, and the game was at stoppage. And you saw Connor McDavid approach the refs and was kind of pleading his case. And I kind of felt bad for the guy. I mean, he's like the greatest player in hockey right now,
Yep.
and they're looking like they're going to be jettisoned in the first round.
And there were some unbelievable thunderous hits in that game. A tough game to officiate, that and the Montreal game. I mean, you talk about unbelievable open ice hits that were borderline assault.
Yeah, big
And
time.
They didn't call 5-minute majors, but there was some real wicked stuff that was going on. So that's where you are. Hockey Hotline is open. If you're a fan, feel free, jump on board. Last set of topics on the table before the fans forum take over. Go ahead.
Yeah, we got the high-speed sports wire. Let's bust that out.
Let's talk about San Diego FC. This is a skid, and I don't know how they're going to get out of it. They lose at home to the Portland Timber, who weren't very good. They lost in the 96th minute. You know, it could have been worse. Timber missed on a breakaway. Timber had a wide-open net. When the San Diego goaltender went down, they missed on that shot. Mikey Varas is peppered with questions about the chemistry of his team. It's just not playing consistently with the physicality they played a year ago when they captured the fancy of everybody in MLS. And his response to one question was really curt. No chance. Question, would you ever consider bringing back?
Chucky Lozano.
No chance. Big issue. They're 3-5-2 in MLS, and they are 0-6-2 in overall matches. Ever since the quick 2-0 start, they've gone 0-6-2. The roster is what the roster is. They've had some minor injuries along the way, but it's just not the same team at this point in time, so that's something. FIFA. We're inside of 40 days to start of the World Cup, and there is just an absolute global revolt against your president, as if he doesn't have enough crapola to deal with that he created. Trump is trying to bully FIFA over Iran. FIFA is not responding and not answering his calls, and the other countries are saying absolutely not. Trump and his adversaries are at war. Trump's told one of his envoys, get Iran out of this tournament, replace him with Italy. Italy says, we're not going, we don't qualify. FIFA's response, if Iran pulls out, they will lose volumes of money and probably face a long-time FIFA ban. You can't pull out of a World Cup. And if they were to pull out, UAE would be the one to replace them. That would be the formula. But all this comes on the heels of your president threatening to move the games out of democratic states because of safety, and your president making the statement, I can't guarantee the safety of the Iranian team if they come to the U.S., and your president then announcing ICE is going to be part of security at any of the World Cup stadiums, and then your president saying anybody who comes here from abroad, maybe they should pay a $15,000 fee to get approved visas because we don't want terrorists in the country. Christ, it goes on and on and on. And then obviously we had to watch what happened at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. My God, this stuff never ends. Is it 2028 yet for the election?
Yeah, that's still a couple years away.
NASCAR. Interesting story there. They have removed the CEO of NASCAR, Jim France. He was the one running it. It's the first time in the history of the sport dating to 1948 that a member of the France family is not going to be the power broker running NASCAR. Jim France, who's 84, looked feeble, looked senile on the witness stand in the antitrust lawsuit, and that's why they had to settle the thing out of court, because he looked terrible. He has been removed. Christian Pulisic. This is a little bit hard to believe. Team USA superstar? Wow. Christian Pulisic is injured. He is now gone, let me get this correct, 24 games without scoring a goal.
Wow.
16 games for AC Milan plus the 80 played for Team USA. And yet he's out on the pitch playing, but he doesn't look right at all. And the last one is tennis. It's a big blow. Carlos Alcaraz cancels out of the Italian Open and the French Open. He's got a wrist injury. They don't know if it's ligament-driven or what, But again, he's the one that's kind of taken over control of the Pro Tennis Tour away from Jannik Sinner, and now he's gone. He may be gone for at least 2 months, if not longer. They don't know whether they have to operate on Alcaraz. So, John, you're going to solve the soccer problems here and take it from there.
What the hell is Trump doing? I mean, we don't need to ingest American politics into this whole World Cup. But I just think he does it on purpose just to push buttons and get everyone angry and cause a kerfuffle so he can do some other things on the other side.
Yeah, how's that worked out in Iran? How's that worked out with the price of your gas?
Oh, I drive an electric car. So
hasn't worked out in mine.
No, yeah, you're paying probably up the wazoo.
6.
Yeah, so the whole thing with the FIFA is just, it's unnecessary. And they're still not selling the tickets, right? I mean,
exactly.
Are they going to broadcast this thing with a half-full stadium? That would be a bad look.
Well, SoFi Stadium seats almost 70, and they've sold 40,000 for Team USA games.
That's not good.
That's egregious. It's all a money grab.
Yeah. I get that they need to maximize their revenue, but it just seems like they took too big of a bite at the apple. And I think, the fans aren't going to show up, and then they're going to be burned by it.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a capitalist for the first time, turning tail and running.
Well, if you can only charge so much. The Padres have no problems raising prices. People still show. But with this whole World Cup thing, it's just a big miscalculation. Also because I think a lot of foreign travelers, foreign soccer fans may not be coming to America.
By virtue of who?
Yeah, your president.
Your president, not my president. Okay, SDFC, what are we doing here? We have a fire smoldering, or is this just going to take some time to figure out the makeup of the roster or maybe the change of the system?
I don't know. I mean, you're paying Chucky Lozano a hell of a lot of money just to kind of...
Not to play.
So what's your plan here? I mean, I get it that there was like some kind of a problem in the clubhouse. There were multiple incidents. He's persona non grata. But at some point, you just got to get rid of him and unload it, and so you can have a fresh start. So I don't know what they're waiting on.
But they got to pay the contract. That's the thing. They got 2 more years to go on his contract.
He must have done something far worse than what we heard, from the inside sources in the media.
I was just told there were 4 different incidents. It was just nonstop, and that was it. But at the end of the day, you got a product here on the field. You got to make better. And there's a $7 million a year that's going to him, and he's not part of your team. That's $7 million you can't spend because you got a cap. So how do you go get other players to replace him? So the roster is what the roster is, but the roster does not look complete.
No, it doesn't. The vibe is so different than last year.
0-6-2 in their last 8 matches.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's not what we experienced with the great success of year 1. Okay, those are topics on the table. Just a quick reminder, this podcast brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers. 8 locations to serve you in San Diego. Got projects, they've got products. Just go to DIXIELINE.com to see all the things they have to offer. And by Our Lads Draft Guide. Draft has come and gone, but you can still get the magazine, and you can then get the subscription because they'll put out their training camp magazine in July, which you're really going to love too. Just go to ourlads.com, fill out subscription, you get the magazine, or you can get the digital version of the magazine. John, I'm ready for Fans Forum. I bet there's a few people with opinions.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's start here with Mike. Hey, the games in Mexico City shouldn't be games that count, just part of spring training. The park is a joke. It's not Major League in any way. Get serious about this schedule.
Well, then they should have been scheduled to play it at the end of April rather than the middle of the season. But they're trying to globalize the games. I talked to somebody else who's a baseball person. Would they ever go back to Cuba? Cuba's become a third world company because of Russia. But they did play exhibition games in Cuba. Obama was there. I remember the conflagration of controversy about why is Obama sitting with Castro's brother and Castro's brother's killing people, and yet they were, because baseball is the sport in Cuba, and it was so well attended. And they do exhibition games in Dominican, Puerto Rico, etc. Obviously, they play regular season games on the Pacific Rim. It's marketing the game globally. Were the conditions different? Yes. Were the stadiums substandard? Well, some of the Padre players viewed that stadium's turf as being like hard cement. Does the ball carry? Yeah, because the ball carries in Colorado too. So I don't know. It's just part of marketing.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it. I mean, as a Padre fan, I love it, and it is a way to expand the brand, and I'd like to see the sport going worldwide. It's all good, but you're saying that ground was like concrete. It was the infield dirt that was so hard because that ball would like get on, the fielders.
Second hop would be so wicked.
Yeah, it would be because it would bounce differently. But that's the cool thing about baseball is that not every stadium is the same. It's not like every football field, every basketball court, every hockey arena is the same. But baseball, everyone is different, and there's all these quirks to it. And if you go to a ballpark like this, that it's like being on the moon, even more so than against the Rockies, go for it. Now, by the way, the Padres should have scored a hell of a lot more runs in these two games.
I thought home runs would be flying out of that yard, and didn't really happen until the second game.
Yeah, but how about Campusano, man? I mean, he's just hitting them. Machado started coming alive. Maybe those bats are going to start heating up.
You got half the batting orders hitting under 220. Let's not sales pitch me that everything's fine right now.
Well, let's just hopefully think. Well, they have the second best record in all of baseball. It's pretty damn good.
How the hell are they doing that?
Yeah. So, I mean, we can be critical, but, let's be realistic, too.
Okay. Thank you for joining us.
Okay, let's go to the O-Siders. Joe Ortiz has said he does not want to overspend. Do you think they drafted Mesidor because they feel he's in his prime at age 25 and won't re-sign him after his rookie deal when he's 30 years old?
Well, you only get one contract at age 25. That'll take him to age 29 or 30. Now, if he stays free of injury, then he probably gets a second contract. But they desperately need high motor players. They need physicality up front, and he is the heir apparent to Khalil Mack. So he's a pretty good player. I don't have a problem with him. My only concern is they still had chances to go get good offensive linemen, and they didn't really do it. So that, to me, their offensive guard situation in front of Justin Herbert is worse now than it was the last game of the season when he nearly got decapitated. I don't care how much sales pitch Harbaugh is spending on me. And, the intangible, and I said this weeks ago, if Mike McDaniel, the incoming offensive coordinator who's got a lot of pizzazz, Yale nerd, if McDaniel is helping him make picks, I like this guy because this guy's style fits my style, okay. But if McDaniel's gone in 11 months for a head coaching job somewhere else, and then you're stuck with McDaniel's players who are really different that might not fit the next offensive coordinator coming in, now what do you got? So I just don't think they addressed the offensive guard situation at all. I mean, they got their two starting offensive guards are washouts from other teams. They got released twice each. And then now they drafted the kid center out of Florida at 305 pounds, which is really undersized, and you're going to try to convert him to a guard? I don't buy it.
Yeah, I get O-Sider's point. I mean, because, Spanos has a history of being cheap, doesn't want to overspend. But then again, you were saying that, the window between the floor and the ceiling is really tight.
Yeah.
So
and draft picks are slotted. Mesidor is going to get what Mesidor is going to get because that's where he's slotted and drafted. So that's not a big debate.
Right.
This is not drafting on nickels and dimes because you got to pay him. If you take him at 22, he gets a 22 slot pick.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just shocked that they didn't take an offensive lineman.
Yeah, well, read my one man's opinion column. You're an NFL fan on my website right now, and tell me you agree or disagree with me.
Okay, let's go here to Aztec Mike. He goes, wrong. Cage Casey from Boise State got drafted by the Denver Broncos in the 4th. There's another Mountain West player that got drafted.
Okay, maybe I missed that. I kept looking. I had only counted 2. Okay, so there were 3. It's still a deficient number for the Mountain West.
Yeah.
Mountain West is cycled down.
Yeah, well, the Mountain West, the way everyone's going to the Pac-12, it's a whole different thing. But, Aztec Mike wants us to cover the Aztec football program in greater detail with more focus,
We cover it as good as we can cover because I cover everything.
You do cover everything. But how do you feel like do you think Sean Lewis is reloading? I mean, we don't know what his roster is going to be yet.
Well, we know the roster. It's in spring football. It's it's loaded with a lot of new players, 51 new players. I happen to think that Sean Lewis and his people are ahead of the curve in terms of where to go get players, how to scout them, etc. but there's no continuity. That's the toughest part, is they're just not able to build from one year to the next because they keep losing guys in the transfer portal. Maybe the portal is going to change a year from now, but I think they're ahead of the curve in terms of player acquisitions. But if you're constantly having to reteach a whole new group of players, a whole new, very different system, it takes time. So I give them credit for being ahead of everybody in terms of, okay, we're going to lose these people. So be it. That's the life we live. We're going to go find these players, and we're going to get all these transfers in. And so far, the transfers that they've brought in, I think for the most part, they've hit on them. So that's a positive. It's just it's a different world now than it ever was before. And as much as I like Sean, I'm not buying a sales pitch. Hometown heroes. You only had 3 San Diego State signees this year. 3 out of this hotbed of football. If you were making an impact in the community, you'd have more than 2 or 3 on the roster. But hey, we're covering it because we do cover everything. Just be thankful that we cover everything. Thank you.
Dutcher's going through the same thing,
sure.
Right? And this whole transition to the Mountain West, or in this case, the Pac-12. Pac-12 isn't in the big boys club.
It's not the group of 4.
Yeah. I wonder if that'll change. I mean, do you think the Pac-12 could ever graduate and kind of like the opposite of relegation, they can move up?
I would think if they got Cal and Stanford to come back, if those guys defect from the ACC, if Brigham Young were ever to come to the realization that I don't really think I fit in the Big 12. But see, those guys are all making, at least BYU is making mega money in the Big 12.
Yeah,
Stanford,
that's not going to change.
Stanford, Cal are not making very much as part of the media agreement. They're likely to come back. But are they big-time players in West Coast football? Nah.
Yeah.
Now, I'm sorry. Your email address is mid-major for the rest of your life. That's too bad.
It is too bad. I mean, it is too bad.
Okay, we move on.
All right, we move on. Okay, let's go here to Roy. Hey, Matthew Stafford is injury prone. Maybe they know something we don't.
Well, I think they know the intangibles of Simpson. Smart kid, coach's kid, leader. Obviously got some athleticism to him. And they got a year to grow him. I wouldn't say Stafford's injury prone. He takes a lot of punishment. He's stood in there. He's had a hell of a career. And he's gotten to a Super Bowl already. He's going to have probably another chance to do it again this season. So I don't think there's any negatives to Matthew Stafford aside from the fact he's 38 years of age. But he's not had any catastrophic injuries that knocked him out for 2+ years, et cetera. So I don't know that that's quite a fair assessment. But Snead and McVay are pretty good at roster building, which is why I say I guess you trust what they have just done, and we'll see how this thing grows. But there are other guys they could have had with that second pick or third pick, and they didn't do it. And wow. I still think they had some deficiencies or depth issues they could have adjusted to.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, like you say, 38 years old for Matthew Stafford. Like, how many guys when they're 38, I don't care what sport you're playing, that you're still improving? And Matthew Stafford seems to be like that.
Well, he's at a level that he's never dropped off of. He's LeBron. LeBron's what, 40? Mm-hmm. LeBron's at a level here. You say, how is he doing this?
Yeah, I was thinking originally of Tom Brady and then Barry Bonds, although that was the juice. But it's just rare to see guys in their late 30s and in their 40s that still seem to be just getting it done.
Yep. He's got really good people around him. So, 2 years ago they could have done it in Philadelphia in the snow and didn't. This past year they were right there at the end and did not do it. So this is probably the last hurrah.
The last hurrah. Okay, let's go here to David. Hey, Baja to the Canadian Rockies. Fly, Eagles, fly. Great draft, great trays. Eagles just better.
And they're not done because we still got the A.J. Brown trade coming. I don't know whether it's to New England or somebody else, but that's the theory, which means maybe more players are coming in the door. I thought they had themselves a pretty good draft, too. And the one story I want to see how it evolves is this critique within the last couple of weeks that the problems with the Eagles and not just A.J. Brown being a diva. The problem with the Eagles is Jalen Hurts. Is he coachable? Do they need to make him a more complete guy? Because their offense was skitterish the last couple of years. And, there's a theory out there that he doesn't take well to certain type of coaching. He doesn't take well to alternative game plans and doing other things that great quarterbacks have to do. So I'll be interested to see if this struggle to be consistent, aside from Saquon Barkley and Devonta Smith, who are great players, do they struggle because of Jalen Hurts' inability to become the complete player?
Yeah. It's interesting is like Hurts, when he was the phenom at Alabama, and then he kind of got displaced by Tua. And then he was in the NFL and did really well, right out of the gate. But he just seems to be, I won't say declining, but
he got to a plateau and he never got off it.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. So
kind of like you on this podcast.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good way to put it. All right. Okay, we got to go to this guy. He's got a great handle. His name's Swellin' Sausage. He goes, hey, hello from the Eastern Sierra fishing opening weekend. Good to see you guys on again.
Eastern Sierra has never been there. Heard of a lot of great things about it. So,
have you ever driven up 395?
A little bit, but not.
Oh, that's
as scenic as it gets.
It's unbelievable. And so I go up every year. My buddies from college, we get together in Tahoe and Reno for a weekend, and I like to drive up from San Diego, and I'll go up that 395. And once you get through the high desert and you start getting into the Eastern Sierra,
High Pines.
Yeah, there's those cities, and you go through Bishop, and you kind of work your way up towards Mammoth, and then there's Lake Topaz, and a lot of great scenery there. That is a hell of a drive.
On my bucket list, Yosemite.
You haven't been to Yosemite?
No.
Really? Well, you got to get out there.
Well, I get out there because I go back to my cottage in upstate New York, which is kind of in the Adirondacks, which is kind of like Yosemite.
Yeah, it is kind of. Yeah, okay. All right, I got you.
Thank you for being with us from the High Sierras.
From the High Sierras. Okay, let's go to Philip. Hey, good day, gents. I was watching one of those off-brand professional football games, and I couldn't believe my eyes. Mike Tomlin was the head coach. He is still around, and what a quick turnaround. Goodbye, Pittsburgh, to this team in the UFL.
Mike Tomlin, the big storyline is last night. He was announced as the lead analyst on Sunday night NFL Football Night in America.
Oh, is that Tony Dungy's gig, or is that Chris Collinsworth?
Tony Dungy has been retired, I guess I'd say forced out.
Okay, so he's going to be the studio guy?
Yes.
Okay, and then like on the field, pregame, postgame?
Probably, yeah. They're changing the whole chemistry of that Football Night in America. They're going to take it on the road. And they're not done making changes. They just removed Chris Sims this morning. And the report is they might remove also Rodney Harrison. They're going to go with a whole different group.
Rodney Harrison? He's been doing that show for a long time.
Tomlin, though, is really glib. I heard the first interview with Tomlin. I watched a piece of it this morning. Very impressive. He's got opinions on everything and he's vocal. So I don't know. I know it's a one-year gig or whether he'll really evolve into just enjoying being on TV.
I'm rooting for him because usually when you see him on camera on the sidelines, he's very stoic.
Yep.
Yeah. And so, and it probably is time to kind of turn the page. And you can only stick with a crew there, with Dungy and Rodney Harrison. Yeah, you got to make a switch every once in a while.
Yeah, so they introduced him last night. It was announced Mike Tomlin will be the lead in-studio analyst, so fascinating to watch. He's a smart guy. I think he's a very good coach, but they hit a plateau in Pittsburgh, and they never got off the plateau. And I don't know if that was a Tomlin thing or that was an Eagles organizational failure to go get a quarterback, or even as I just talked about on the draft. This is the 21st century. You got 12 draft picks in your pocket. Trade some of them and trade up to get the right guys, and they didn't get a guy. And Aaron Rodgers is still holding them hostage.
Yeah, Yeah, I mean, you got to just say, screw you, Aaron. We're going to go a different way.
That's where we are.
All right, let's go to Sports Fan. Hey, where Alex Cora and 5 members of the coaching staff will go. Also, will Anze Kopitar for the LA Kings go to the NHL Hall of Fame?
20 years is a hell of a service time in the NHL. Now, that won't happen immediately, but boy, what a great player Anze Kopitar was. And he was a foreigner from abroad. He was not marketed here as being a superstar. Not like Gretzky, but boy, what a great player he was, and what a great gentleman for the sport. And to see at the end of the season, in the final week, when the Kings made their final stops on the road, all the players from all the other teams, whether they were in the playoffs or not, stayed on the ice after the game in a handshake line to salute Anze Kopitar. You talk about ultimate respect. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. I mean, what a finish to a career. 20 years with one team?
One team.
No one's done that. I mean, any sport, it seems. So, but it is interesting also talking about Alex Cora. He's going to probably land in Philadelphia, I think.
He's going to land somewhere. Well, he might wind up with the Mets. He might, each of those teams that's in trouble is a specific reason they're in trouble. Philadelphia's got a lot of injuries to the pitching staff, and obviously Harper and Schwarber are not hitting very well at all. Schwarber's still hitting some home runs, but so that might be an age and injury situation in Philadelphia. The Mets just seems like there's a lot of ill-fitting pieces there. Made so many changes, and they spent the highest payroll this year in baseball. The way the Dodgers have configured their payroll, although the Dodgers number is ridiculous, but the Dodgers number is spread out because of deferrals. The Mets have the most money going out the door this year in contracts. And look at what that record is. And their pitching staff's all screwed up too, but they got a lot of ill-fitting parts. Yeah,
they do. It just seemed that, when the first baseman, the
Pete Alonso.
Yeah, Pete Alonso, the polar bear, when he made the move to go to Baltimore, it seemed like, the Mets really pivoted, added all these guys, and Bichette can't hit. All the Mets fans hate him.
Yeah, boy, they're banging on him something fierce, batting .233. And is he a second baseman? Is he a shortstop? My God, you can't play him at third base. That's a problem. You gave him all his money?
Yeah, exactly. And by the way, Alex Cora, when you think of Alex Cora, everyone's saying, oh, he's going to get hired somewhere else. He's a great coach. But don't you think cheater? I mean, because there was a little bit of a controversy when the Red Sox beat the Dodgers in, was it 2018? Yep. And then wasn't Cora on the Astros staff when the whole garbage can thing went down? Mm-hmm. So what's the character of Alex Cora?
Well, do they blame him totally for inventing the whole sign-stealing scam, or was it a whole bunch of other people?
I don't know. I just know, guilty by association. I don't know.
Geez, you're awful rude.
Well, it's a legit question.
Okay, we move on.
Okay, and we'll go here to this I think was great from Carlos. Hey, Justin Robleski, Robo, has been a beast as the Dodgers starting pitcher. If he keeps it up, LA could have 3 starting pitchers in the upcoming All-Star game.
Well, he's got a 1.50 ERA so far. So good. I mean, obviously, Yamamoto is the ace of that staff. There's no sighting of Blake Snell. I guess he was told over the weekend that he has at least 3 or 4 more starts in Class A ball. He's just way behind the curve. So now April becomes May becomes June, so he may not be back till June if he doesn't have any setbacks. So Snell is still a little bit behind the power curve there. But obviously you got Glasnow and you got Ohtani. That's the big 3. Now, if Robo continues to do this, you say, wow, where did he come from? But let's see if he continues to do it.
Well, yeah, I think to Carlos's point, Ohtani and Yamamoto are going to make the All-Star team for sure. But I mean, Robo is a great example of how the Dodgers just always sort of land on their feet. They've always got a guy, that's coming up and it's going to be a hell of a player. But I remember he's a lefty, and doesn't he have sort of a funky delivery as a lefty?
Well, he's big and gangly, too.
I mean, that's what it is, I think, yeah.
Yeah. So far, so good. We'll see. It is hard to believe, though, the Dodgers have only a half-game lead over the Padres right now. But, again, it's early.
Yeah, but still, I mean, both teams are doing great. Okay, let's go here to Texocala Station. Hey, question, congrats to Mason Miller on most scoreless innings for the Padres. But did the A's not realize what they had, or were they just desperate to make a trade for what we gave them for Miller?
Well, DeVries is going to be a star. I mean, he's starring at Double-A right now. Miller's under control for 4 more years, but those numbers are going to continue to go up. Miller did have a history of injury. That's why he's not a starter, why he went into the bullpen. But the correct name is Sir Smoke. What Sir Smoke is doing, 34 2/3 consecutive shutout innings, it's just amazing stuff. The slider is wicked. Fastball's all over the place, but so far so good. And the Padres control him for 3 more years after this season, and we'll see if they can refine him. I hope he doesn't get hurt. I think you only have so many bullets in the gun. You can't throw 103 miles an hour on every pitch.
It's just he has such command over that slider.
Oh, yeah. Wicked stuff.
Yeah, and he can make it like drop vertically or drop diagonally. He's got so many variations to it, and he throws it for strikes. And the batters are so freaked out for the 103 fastball.
They're frozen.
Yeah, I mean, they just look like they're completely helpless up there. Yeah. But did you see the video from Clay Meredith?
Yes.
That, congratulating Mason Miller on breaking his record. I mean, I could see Miller, maybe a run for Oral Hershiser's record?
Could be, for consecutive shutout innings over record. His record was, 53-something?
No, it was in the high 50s. I think 58 or 59.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is great. I mean, the Padres have got an ace. It's when that deal went down, there were a lot of Padre fans that were not happy. I bet those minds have changed.
Well, at that point in time, we had Suarez, who's now the closer in Atlanta.
Yeah. The Mason Miller is a whole different level.
I concur with you wholeheartedly. So they'll have to. I think they have to gauge his use, because I don't think they can use him back to back or 3 times in 4 nights. I don't think you can do that with a power pitcher. So Greg Stammen is going to have to make sure that there's not an overuse issue with him.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, we move on. Thank you.
We move on. Let's go to Music to My Ears. Thanks for the donation. Dodger fans celebrating today. Cora fired.
Yeah, well, getting even. People in Boston, they're not blaming Cora. I think players when they're shell shocked. Trevor Story's the only one that spoke out. He's a vested veteran. I think the general manager, Craig Breslow, who's allowed all these changes under his decision-making power to happen, I think he's to blame for the roster just is really different. And I said weeks ago, in fact, when we did the baseball preview, see, you should listen to this podcast every week. When I did the baseball preview, I said they don't have legitimate power hitter. They got a lot of good young guys. Where is Duran in the lineup? He's in, he's out, etc. And did they have the right starting pitching beyond Crochet? And at this point, those are 3 unanswered questions as I sit here in 10-17. And those are all the GM's decisions that gave Cora this roster that's 10-17.
Well, it's weird that there are always trade rumors on Duran. Mm-hmm. He was either coming to the Padres, he's going to the Dodgers, he's going somewhere. And those don't just sort of appear out of nowhere. I mean, obviously, Boston probably was looking to shop him. But it just goes to show you they were just never settled with a lot of these young guys.
And he's not hitting right now. He's not hitting like he first got there. And, he made the revelation about mental health issues about a year and a half ago. And people have really been cruel to him on the road. And ever since that first came out of potential suicide, and I discovered what was wrong, and I went and got mental health help. And everybody's got a right to say, I'm not okay, and go get help. And he did. But he hasn't been the same player since. I think the last I checked his batting average, and he's not in the lineup every day. He's like 241. And he's not hitting home runs. So I don't know if there's something deeper going on there or whether he's just in a real funk. But yeah. Boston's a mess.
Yeah, Dodger fans celebrating. They're always celebrating something.
That's right.
Okay, let's go to XX Revolution. Hey, Lee Hacksaw Hamilton. Hey, do you think that was last night at the Oilers was a goal, even though it was?
Yeah, I think it was. I think if you could get as close to it as you could almost see the complete disc across the line. And, if it had been halfway or if there were a shadow, you'd say no. But the fact that it looked like the whole disc was across the line, so be it. And Tristan Jerry stood on his head in the third period and overtime. I mean, he looked at so much rubber, so many shots. Those goaltenders are under siege. But Edmonton's done. Edmonton, I don't know what they're going to do. They're going to trade Connor McDavid. That's one of the rumors from the NHL people that I source with, that maybe it's time just to trade him for a boatload, let him go somewhere else and see if they can win. You think this guy has never won a Stanley Cup, and he's, 13 years in the league?
That's crazy.
And he's a Hall of Famer. It'd be like Gretzky never having gone to a Stanley Cup. You got to be kidding me. So is he going to be traded? The other big storyline is the Maple Leafs' Austin Matthews. I mean, they're facing a massive rebuild. Do they trade him in his big money contract? Where does he go? People say New York Rangers. How about the L.A. Kings? L.A. Kings need to do something now to change the face of their franchise because they can't get out of the first round of the playoffs either. And that might be a leadership problem in addition to a player personnel problem. I was thinking when I was watching the game is that these are the two orange teams facing each other.
Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting to see that, the orange of the Edmonton Oilers is like the Boise State orange, like the Denver Broncos orange, where the orange of the Ducks is kind of more of a darker orange, because they're mixing it with more black and yellow than they are like the Oilers mixing it with blue. And I know just from an art perspective, I just like how that's different, and it's a subtle difference. But yeah, I mean, the Oilers have always been so loaded with talent, and they always seem to get flustered, deeper into the playoffs. It would be a rotten shame if McDavid never gets, a trophy.
And never say never.
because Edmonton's the one that traded Gretzky to L.A., so never say never that they would not trade Connor McDavid. And the coolest part, in addition to the changing of the guard, the fans. The fans are crazy.
Well, that's all they have to live for.
Yeah, and in Montreal, when they sing "Oh Canada" in French, you almost want to cry. It's so beautiful. And you see Molson Square outside of the Bell Center in Montreal.
Yeah, it's great.
Holy cow. So, and obviously Edmonton's fans are outside. So the NHL playoffs they have arrived. And the TV ratings are up 43%. I think that's the end result because every playoff game is now on live TV. Not on streaming, on live TV with all the different networks that ABC has, et cetera.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's so cool.
It's yeah. I mean, I'm a sort of a newbie to hockey. But yeah, NHL playoffs is like incredible.
Yep.
I mean, the energy, not just the players play at, but the energy of the crowd.
Yep.
I mean, it's just like a madhouse in there.
And then we went last night, from Ducks Oilers, overtime goal, 5-minute review. Here's the winner. We go right to the next playoff game.
Boom.
Boom. I mean, it's so cool.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, next one.
Okay, let's go here to No Time. Hey, Lakers miracle. Too bad we get OKC next.
Yeah, exactly. This is great. First round. Oh, my God. Who are we going to play in the second round?
Yeah.
Oklahoma City. And it probably with no Luka, and I think very doubtful Austin Reeves. But we knew that going in. So I'm very intrigued to see what happens tomorrow night, whether Houston can amp this up again and play at this intensity level, because I think the Rockets have underachieved. For all that raw talent to play as crappy as they do, especially on the offensive side of the basketball. And Durant's had a great career, but boy, Durant looks like a square peg in a round hole with all these other guys who want to run the floor.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was just such a meltdown, in Game 3. The Rockets had that, and I think maybe what's is it Sepram? Sengun. Yeah, excuse me, Sengun, the big man. It was interesting. You talked about how he's had a players-only speech, but he did it through his Turkish interpreter.
Yeah, exactly.
And I kind of like that.
And the players responded.
Yeah, because they probably feel like they were connecting with him. He's a hell of a talent.
He is so unorthodox in terms of style, but he's more left-handed than he is right-handed, but he is so good. He does not play above the rim. He's not a jumper, John, but he gets open. With all that traffic around him, he still gets his shots off and he makes free throws.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, it's a great team. It was funny as I was watching the Rockets bench, and I'm like, hey, that guy looks familiar. And that's Fred VanVleet. He's been
all year.
All year he's been hurt.
He got hurt in Achilles. He never got on the floor.
Incredible.
And then Durant's hurt. So those are two of their top guns.
Yeah, for sure.
Exactly. Okay, a couple more here.
Okay, I think we could fit one more in. Let's go to Arnie. Hey, everyone love to hate success. Go ahead and pile on my Dodgers. Let's see where the standings are in August.
What do you want me to say? And then Dave Roberts puts a period exclamation point to it by saying, what do you say on early in the week?
Like
we don't pay any attention to what the Padres are doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Why would we?
Right.
Just amazing. We got a lot of baseball to be played.
The Dodgers bullpen, though, we're seeing like flashbacks, some deja vu of like the implosion last year.
Roki, give the ball to Roki. What are we doing here? Sasaki's ERA is 6.11. He's scuffling as a starter. His ERA in the bullpen is 0.78. Why are we even having this debate, Dave Roberts?
I know, yeah, and they keep rolling out Trinan and rolling out,
Tanner
Scott, and they keep getting lit up. So, it's Arnie's point. It is early. It's April, okay? The Padres are already scheduling the parade for being in first place in April. But the Dodgers are going to be there. They're going to be there at the end. They're going to be a hell of a out in the playoffs.
A lot of baseball to be played. We hope you have enjoyed our podcast. Reminder, we're here Mondays at 1:30, Thursdays at 1:30. Second reminder, sample my new website, brand new layout and design. Message us. Give us a thumbs up. Give us a thumbs down if you like it. Tell us what you think. Got to read my one man's opinion column today. I spent a lot of time doing this report card on all 32 teams and the NFL draft picks, so read the report card. You can help us grow this thing. Give us a thumbs up. Where's that button on that board? Hit that thumbs up. Hit the follow button. And on Apple, give us a 5-star rating. Helps us a great deal. We'll be back here on Thursday with a lot more to talk about. Podcast brought to you by Dixieline Lumber and Home Centers, 8 locations to serve you, including their spectacular tool section, and by Our Lads Draft Guide. If you're a football fan, you need to get this for your library. Subscribe, because not only do you get the draft book, you'll get the preseason camp, training camp book that they put out in July. Go to ourlads.com and subscribe that way. Get the book or get the digital version. Hell of a show. I need a jolt of Mountain Dew.
I know you do.
Damn.
You know, you got some light reading here with the Our Lads Draft Guide. That is a hell of a publication.
200-plus pages.
And it's like 6-point font of all the minutia and detail for every NFL draft nerd.
Yeah, great podcast. John, thank you for being with us. We'll see you come Thursday.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us on Hacksaw's Headlines.
Join us again for Hacksaw's Headlines on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And find the audio version on your favorite podcast apps.
Touchdown, San Diego!
For more content, go to LeeHacksawHamilton.com.